Today is Wednesday, June 17th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are on Chapter 11, A Vision for You. We will be reading pages 151 and 152. Out of the 12 and 12, we are on Tradition 9. We will read pages 174 and 175, and of course, we'll read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope y'all are doing well this morning, my friends. Life is good over here. I've got a giant cup of oatmeal coffee in my Marvel Comics cup, and got my fur babies with me here inspecting the garage. I've cleaned it out yesterday, so they're all freaked out. But that does give them more room to play around, although less things to get into. But, I guess challenge is accepted for my cat. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, we left off on a pretty powerful note in A Vision for You, where he says he cannot picture life without alcohol. Someday he will be unable to imagine life either with alcohol or without it. Then he will know loneliness such as few do. Has anyone ever been there? I have. He will be at the jumping off place. He will wish for the end. So we're going to finish off page 152 today. We have shown how to get out from under. You say, yes, I'm willing, but am I to be consigned to a life where I shall be stupid, boring, and glum, like some of the righteous people I see? I know I have to get along without liquor, but how can I? Have you a sufficient substitute? Yes, there is a sufficient substitute, and it is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. Your imagination will be fired. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. Thus we find the fellowship, and so will you. Well, how's that to come about, you ask? Where am I to find these people? You're going to meet these new friends in your own community. Near you, alcoholics are dying helplessly like people in a sinking ship. If you live in a large place, there are hundreds, high and low, rich and poor. These are future fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. Among them, you will make lifelong friends. You will be bound to them with new and wonderful ties, for you will escape disaster together, and you will commence shoulder to shoulder your common journey. Then you will know what it means to give of yourself, that others may survive and rediscover life. You will learn the full meaning of love thy neighbor as thyself. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Tradition 9. AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. And in the last page or so, we've been talking about how AA is actually very much free in a lot of ways. There's no real governor of all the service centers and things like that. Everything's self-run, and that's very much intentionally so. So we are on page 174, halfway down, and we will also read the rest of the chapter. So that's about half of page 175. The same stern thread applies to the group itself. Unless there is approximate conformity to AA's 12 traditions, the group too can deteriorate and die. So we of AA do obey spiritual principles, first because we must, and ultimately because we love the kind of life such obedience brings. Great suffering and great love are AA's disciplinarians, and we need no others. It is clear now that we ought never to name boards to govern us, but it is equally clear that we shall always need to authorize workers to serve us. It is the difference between the spirit of vested authority and the spirit of service. two concepts which are sometimes poles apart. It is in this spirit of service that we elect the AA Group's informal rotating committee, the intergroup association for the area, and the general service conferences of Alcoholics Anonymous for AA as a whole. Even our foundation, once an independent board, is today directly accountable to our fellowship. Its trustees are the caretakers and expediters of our world services. Just as the aim of each AA member is personal sobriety, the aim of our services is to bring sobriety within reach to all who want it. If nobody does the group's chores, if the area's telephone rings unanswered, if we do not reply to our mail, then AA as we know it would stop. Our communication lines with those who need our help would be broken. AA has to function, but at the same time it must avoid those dangers of great wealth, prestige, and entrenched power which necessarily tempt other societies. Though Tradition 9 at first seems to deal with the purely practical matter, in its actual operation, it discloses a society without organization, animated only by the spirit of service, a true fellowship. 24 hours a day, June 17th. AA Thought for the Day. We in AA have the privilege of living two lives in one lifetime. One life of drunkenness, failure, and defeat. Then through AA, another life of sobriety, peace of mind, and usefulness. We who have recovered our sobriety are modern miracles, and we're living on borrowed time. Some of us might have been dead a long time ago, but we have been given another chance to live. Do I owe a debt of gratitude to AA that I can never repay as long as I live? Meditation for the day. Thinking about God and love and worship drives away evil. It is the thought before that the hosts of evil flee. The thought of a power greater than yourself is the call for a lifeline to rescue you from temptation. The thought of God banishes loneliness and dispels gloom. It summons help to conquer your faults. Think of God as often as possible. Use the thought prayerfully and purposefully. It will carry your thoughts away from material things and toward the spiritual things that make life worthwhile. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may think of God often. I pray that I may rest in peace at the thought of His love and care. Daily Reflection, June 17th. Deep down within us. We found a great reality deep down within us. In the last analysis, it is only there that He may be found. Search diligently within yourself. With this attitude, you cannot fail. The consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 55. It was out of the depths of loneliness, depression, and despair that I sought the help of AA. As I recovered and began to face the emptiness and ruin of my life, I began to open myself to the possibility of the healing that recovery offers through the AA program. By coming to meetings, staying sober, and taking the steps, I had the opportunity to listen with increasing attentiveness to the depths of my soul. Daily I waited, in hope and gratitude, for that sure belief and steadfast love I have longed for in my life. In this process, I met my God as I understand Him. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading and some beautiful stuff. Going back to the big book real fast, A Vision for You. I love that it talks about here, yes, I'm willing, but am I to be consigned to a life where I shall be stupid, boring, and glum? And then I know I must get along without liquor, but how can I? Have you a sufficient substitute? Okay, so if I could be real for a moment, when I first came into the rooms, I did have a little fear that, okay, if I get sober, who am I? Am I going to be super boring? And I thought to myself, if I'm always serving others, then who am I? I don't know who I am anymore, because I paired alcoholism and my selfishness with my identity, because I always drank pretty much with every activity I did. So I was a little afraid, like, what do I do now? Who am I going to be? And I love how the Big Book answers that question very, very emphatically. In the next paragraph, it says, yes, there is a substitute, and it is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. Your imagination will be fired. Now, I used to misunderstand that. I thought that meant like your imagination will go away. But I think what it means is your imagination will be ignited. Life will mean something at last. Okay, so I need to back up for a second. The fellowship for me was huge. Now, please don't do what I did. Please don't do what I did. When I first got sober, the fellowship, now that kept me coming back, and thank God for that, right? When I first came in the rooms and I saw the kindness, I was very suspicious. It seemed too genuine. Like, okay, this can't be. What's their angle? What do they want? But then I realized over time that, thank God, the fellowship I went to was very sincere and very rooted in the Big Book, but also very much rooted in just being sincere in their stories, in their shares. So that kept me coming back. But where I made a mistake for me is I waited too long to do the steps. I waited almost a year to do the steps. But when I finally did the steps and attended the fellowship, when I got a sponsor who was smarter than me, who took me through the Big Book, somebody who previously worked the steps themselves, that's when I was able to finally look within and clean house. And that's where I felt like the peace that I'd never experienced before started coming into my life. So then I had peace within myself and a family in the fellowship at the same time. So I had two beautiful things. And you know what the great thing was? Life became a lot more interesting. Why? Well, I started being okay with who I am. I started to let go a lot of the fears in my life. See, when I was drinking, I didn't realize how fearful I was. But the alcohol kind of dispelled that fear for a little bit. But then when you wake up the next day with a hangover after a blackout, man, that fear comes crashing in, going, oh God, what did I do? What did I say? Where did I park? Things like that. But the cool thing is that in sobriety, my heart's changed. I do want to help others, not just for my own sobriety, but because I want to. But as I said at the beginning, does that mean that I had to get rid of my identity? No. I've grown into it more. Let me give you a practical example. I loved to write as a kid. I loved to write. However, over time, in my adult years, it kind of fizzled out. I'd have a certain expectation. Oh, that's a big word in this program. I had a certain expectation of how my stories would be and where I would be by a certain age and things like that. And it didn't work out like that, the way I expected it to be. Well, sure enough, the days started coming where I was drinking more than I was writing. And then it finally got to the point where I wasn't writing at all and just drinking every day. Another thing, hockey. I used to play hockey all the time as a kid. Well, sure enough, as an adult, that kind of fizzled away. And guess what I did? I just drank more. it got to be where the only thing I wanted to do was just drink. My whole life revolved around it, right? Well, finally, in sobriety, and it took a little while in sobriety, but finally, as it says here, your imagination will be fired. In the context of that paragraph, Robology, I think the way I take that is your imagination will be ignited, sparked. I have experienced that to be true. Because finally, without the alcohol in my system, after working the steps and continuing to work the steps, I started writing again. Without the fear and without the expectation that it needs to be a certain way. I brought back writing. I hadn't done that since I was really a kid and teenager, consistently. I started playing hockey again. In my little driveway with the family. It's a lot more fun with the kids. I've brought back a lot of the things from my childhood that I just quit doing. I'm hiking again, getting out in the woods. So I say all that to say this. Sobriety is not boring at all. If anything, I feel like I'm just starting to live. I owe all of that to my higher power and the beautiful program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I feel more adventurous now and open-minded and more of a free spirit and just peaceful now than I've ever felt. And I think that's just the fruits of sobriety. And as it says here, real quick, and then I'll hush, I promise, is life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. I really feel like I'm just now starting to live life. And I'm happier. Okay, I've been saying I'm 40 for about a month. I'm technically 39 for like 8 more days, 7 more days. But I will say this, my goal in my 40s is to enjoy them even more than my 30s. And for the majority of my 30s, I've been sober. So I enjoyed them more than my 20s. Lord willing, I have no idea how long I'll be on this earth. Hopefully for a little while so I can see my kiddos grow up. But who knows? I really don't know. But I do know this, if I keep working the program, keep praying, keep trying to have that growth mentality and to always remain teachable, to keep serving others and just work the triangle, right? If I keep doing these things, I think life's just going to continue to get better and better, regardless of the circumstances. Just one day at a time, right? But my friends, that's all we have time for today. I've rambled way over. I apologize. I hope you all have a good one. One thing I wanted to say is this is a little disclaimer about this podcast. It's something that's been on my heart lately, and I just feel like I need to say it. I know I give the disclaimer. I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect or denomination. Also, I want to make it very, very clear that I'm not a teacher. I mean, I am in my profession, but like this is not something. Please don't take what I say as gospel. That's why I try to say Robology, right? This is just in my experience what's worked for me. But please, what I highly recommend for those who maybe are out of rehab or very much new to the AA program, I highly recommend attending local meetings and getting a sponsor and working the steps. I mean, reading through this big book, it's wonderful and it's a great reminder for me every single day of how deep and rich the big book is. But I wouldn't consider this working the steps. This is just me narrating through them. So please don't take what I say as gospel. As a matter of fact, you can just throw it away. Just listen to the words and, like I said, try to get the help that you need. That somebody can hold your hand and take you through the steps. I hope that made sense. But anyway, I hope you all have a great one today. And if we are given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.